Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. My name is Laura and this is my husband Chris, and we have been eating a carnivore diet for the last 6 years. Today I wanted to talk about OMAD, which is 1 meal a day. You might see this thrown around the Facebook groups or that acronym used a lot, and the question always comes up is, what is OMAD? Is it the goal? Is it something I should be striving for? What are the benefits? And actually, what are the dangers? Chris has been eating 1 meal a day for the last 6 years, and it works really well for him, while I've had some pretty major setbacks by trying to force 1 meal a day. We're gonna break all of that down today while we prep for our lunch. Before we break down all the pros and cons of eating 1 meal a day, I wanna let you know that this video is sponsored by Element. Chris and I both do not eat, Chris never eats breakfast. I rarely eat breakfast. And so I start my day every day with 1 packet of the unflavored electrolytes, which is just sodium, magnesium, and potassium. And I just drink it as I'm getting ready for the day, and whether I go to the gym or if I'm just jumping onto all my work calls.
I start my day with the chocolate caramel, and I put it in a tumbler with some cold brew coffee on ice. Shake it up real good, and it gets me kick-started for the day.
The flavored versions are sweetened with stevia, and the unflavored version has no sweeteners at all, and neither one of them contain caffeine or fillers or junk, and it's just a great way to get our day started. Element has a deal for all my subscribers where you can get a free sample pack of their drink mix packets with any purchase. You can go to drinkelement.com/LAURAESPATH and try all their flavors. We also really love the grapefruit and the citrus flavor. Thanks to Element for sponsoring this video. Over the last 6 years, Chris and I have really dialed in what a good amount of food is for us in terms of what keeps us full, what helps us maintain our weight. And so Chris is gonna break down this picanha that he has for himself for lunch. He's gonna weigh it, and then I wanted him to really talk to you about why 1 meal a day works best for him and all the benefits that he receives from it.
In my former life, one of my biggest problems was just I had to eat so much in every meal. So I would literally eat till I was completely stuffed. And that's always been a challenge for me. So when I started this way of eating, I was trying to eat twice a day. And I found that when I did that, I just ate so much that I wasn't hungry again. And that's when I decided to try OMAD. And because I can eat so much in one sitting, I'm getting all the nutrients that I need. I'm not shortening myself on protein or fat and calories, energy, any of that stuff. I can eat 2,000 to 3,000 calories in one meal and be satisfied, and I'm not hungry till the next day. And it keeps a perfect rhythm for me to where I can still get that really full feeling and not have to fight with that at every meal to try and restrict a little bit so I'm not eating too much in a day. If I ate twice in a day, I'll eat 6,000 calories. That's just how it works for me. It's nice bumper rails for me so that I don't have to stray outside of my comfort zone, and I can stick to what makes me feel satisfied and what I can maintain every day.
Do you think it matters what time of day your OMAD is?
As far as what time of day, I'm never hungry in the morning for breakfast. We're not breakfast people, right? So my hunger really doesn't start kicking in until 9 or 10 in the morning. And then it's easy for me to push through till lunch, which is usually around noon. And it's usually after I do some sort of workout. I train jujitsu or I go to the gym, and it's perfect time for me to refuel. It also keeps me from eating late in the evening. When I eat in the evening, I tend to not sleep well. I get all that rush of B12 from the beef, and it keeps me up at night, and I just don't want to sleep on a full stomach. So just to the point when I go to bed that my stomach is settled and nice, I'm not hungry, nor am I full. So it's perfect for me.
Since you are a former type 2 diabetic, do you think that eating 1 meal a day has helped your blood sugar?
Absolutely, especially at the beginning, my blood sugar normalized relatively quickly, but not having multiple spikes per day and giving my body more time, 24 hours for it to process all the food and clear out and have some actual fasting time on an empty stomach every day, I think was really helpful at getting rid of that visceral fat around the organs and clearing out the liver from all the junk.
You think it helped from a weight loss perspective because of the increased amount of fasting, but then also because of the fact that you were eating less than if you would have had multiple meals?
Definitely on both ends, but I really don't feel, because I'm eating enough, I don't feel like I'm eating less. I'm not restricting in any way, if that makes any sense.
You can essentially eat as much as you want in that 1 meal as long as you stick to that 1 meal.
Absolutely. So today I'm prepping some picanha, and it's a beautiful fatty cut of meat. It's the best if you haven't tried it, but you can see here that marbling, that fat on there. So that's gonna give me a lot of meat. I'm gonna actually weigh some out here. I know that I need about 2 pounds of meat a day, and give or take, and that could be whatever kind of meat that is. So we're having some pork belly today with this. So I'm going to measure out about 1.5 pounds of picanha and gonna have some pork belly with that at lunch. So I'm just gonna throw some pieces up here on the scale till I hit that mark. 1 pound, 10 ounces. So we're gonna roll with that. Close enough.
So I just want to put the volume of food that this is for Chris. So give me that tray. Chris is gonna eat all 3 of these steaks for lunch, and then I would probably say half of this pound of pork. This is like 1 pound and 7 ounces, actually, I weighed it earlier. This is a lot of food. And so if you're thinking about OMAD and you're like, man, I don't think I could eat that in a day, let alone all in one meal, this is why OMAD is not the right choice for everybody. And because he's so active and he's working on maintaining, he needs a lot more food because of the exercise level, and he's not in like super strict weight loss mode. However, he still has always been eating around the same amount of volume of food. It's just if he was in weight loss mode, it might have looked a little leaner, especially, you know, having like something like chicken instead of the pork belly. But the volume for him has always really been about the same. I am like Chris in the sense that I actually love the concept of one meal a day because I'm not hungry for breakfast. I want to eat as much as I want at lunch, and then it would be very easy for me to not eat for the rest of the day. But that's unfortunately where I got myself into trouble back in 2019. Or even in the beginning, I was eating one meal a day for a long time, but I cannot eat anywhere near the volume of food that Chris has. In the very beginning, I could. I used to be able to eat like a whole pizza and a pint of ice cream at once, and so I was eating 2 really large ribeyes, and if you watch my what I eat in a day videos, I was eating 16 2-ounce burger patties, and I was eating 2 pounds of beef in one sitting, and it was working for me. But over time, I stopped being able to eat that much. My appetite changed. I'm sure my stomach regulated, my appetite in general regulated, and I just couldn't eat that much anymore. And I really forced OMAD because of how easy it is, or I just kept doing OMAD for way too long. And then over time, I found that I was only eating like 800, 1,000 calories a day, and my hormones started tanking. I was under eating protein. That's when my hair started falling out. You know, your metabolism is gonna slow down if you are drastically under eating for too long. And so I really have to check in with myself and make sure that I'm adding a second meal most days. Otherwise, I end up under eating. I will say about once or twice a week, I still do one meal a day. Today is Sunday. We usually have a bigger sit-down family meal, and I tend to really focus on getting in the right macros for me to do one meal a day. And so today I'm gonna do one meal, and I'm gonna show you what that's gonna look like. Chris is eating these 3 picanha steaks, and I have this 10-ounce chuck-eye steak, which has tons of fat on it. This is, you know, a lot of times I eat a filet and shrimp, that's gonna be super lean, and it's just not gonna be enough calories overall. So this is a 10-ounce chuck-eye steak. And then I've estimated that I'll probably eat about 7 ounces of this really fatty pork belly. And so you don't have to track your macros every day. It is kind of one of the benefits of carnivore is you're not constantly tracking. However, it is important to check in with yourself and say, am I getting enough protein in my diet, and am I really eating enough calories? This 10 ounces of chuck-eye and 7 ounces of pork belly is only 84 grams of protein. I try to hit about 120 to 140 grams of protein most days. That is 1 gram of protein per pound of my lean body mass. And so this is not enough protein for me all the time. However, it is about 1,900 calories because there's so much fat in it. And so I know today I'm getting like adequate calories for my body to be functioning properly, to keep my metabolism up. And it is a little low in protein for me, but I just make sure that I balance that out the rest of the week. Now, this also is a lot of food. That's like 17 ounces of meat with a lot of fat in it. The macros around that are like 80, 84% fat, which is a much higher fat ratio than I typically normally eat. I might get really full before I finish that 17 ounces of meat that I have planned. And then I have to be aware that if I can't eat all of this in one sitting, I have to make sure that I eat something later today. And this is where things get a little tricky, because if this 17 ounces of meat that I had was 10 ounces of hamburger patty and 7 ounces of chicken, the macros are gonna look wildly different. That's like 127 grams of protein with more of a 50-50 fat to protein ratio. And it's only like 1,000 calories. So again, this is why in carnivore, we've really hopefully moved away from talking about how many pounds of meat should you be eating. Chris knows the pounds of meat that he wants because he's done the macros, he knows the fat to protein ratio from what he's picking. But I can't just tell you you should be eating 1.5, or 2 pounds of meat, because think about the difference with a chuck eye and pork belly versus hamburger and chicken. That's like 1,000 calorie difference for the same weight of meat. As we wrap up, I want to quickly mention the pros and cons of OMAD. The pros are it's really great for your blood sugar. If you're trying to add some extra fasting, it could be great for weight loss. It's great from a satiety mental perspective. If you tend to overeat, you can eat as much as you want and get super full in one meal. It's actually really convenient because you're not having to cook and plan and do all this meals multiple times a day. I love it from like lack of dishes, lack of meal prep. It's just super convenient from that perspective. And I think for a lot of people, there can be benefit to only having one meal a day. The cons of one meal a day is that it can be really hard on your digestive system. You know, there are people who talk about you can't absorb all of that protein in one sitting, and I'm jury's still out on if I really buy into that, but I do know that if you are eating a lot of fat and a lot of protein in one sitting, it can cause loose stools, it can cause you to run to the bathroom. You gotta be really careful with that depending on when your one meal is. And then in general, if you have a lot of digestion problems, one meal a day is not usually helpful at resolving those. Another con is that it really is just hard to eat that much. The 1 or 2 days a week that I eat one meal, I have to be very strategic to make sure that I'm not drastically undereating. My mom, from a blood sugar perspective and just from a satiety and convenience perspective, she likes to do one meal a day. But the problem is she can only eat an 8-ounce hamburger patty with maybe a piece of cheese and a couple pieces of bacon, and then she's completely stuffed, and then she doesn't want to eat again the rest of the day. That's like 800 calories, and she's drastically undereating protein as well. So if your one meal a day looks like a couple of hamburger patties, a couple eggs, and a couple pieces of bacon, I guarantee you, you are undereating, and it's gonna cause you a lot of issues long-term. You're gonna start losing muscle mass, your metabolism is gonna slow down, you are gonna stop losing weight to some extent, you can deal with hair loss and hormone problems. There can be a lot of problems that arise from forcing OMAD when it is not right for you. And that really is what the dangers of one meal a day could be, is that it could increase some digestive issues for you, especially if you don't have a gallbladder, or especially if you have a history of diarrhea and you're really struggling with it. Let's go back to having smaller multiple meals a day. Make sure you're getting enough protein. I will put a macro calculator in the description, and it's important to check in occasionally. Am I getting enough protein? And in general, am I getting enough calories? I mentioned that chicken. I could eat chicken and hamburger and get in plenty of protein for the day, but my calories would be around 1,000. And again, over time, your body is gonna slow down your metabolism if you are undereating to that extent. What the right macros are for you, it's something that you're just gonna have to play around with. I'll put a calorie calculator down below in the description to hopefully give you some insight there. But as terms of the fat to protein, today I'm gonna eat 80% fat. This is a lot of fat for me. And tomorrow I might have filet and shrimp and some chicken, and my fat to protein ratio is gonna be a lot more protein and a lot less fat. And I think that's probably a lot more normal way for us to live than trying to hit a certain fat to protein macro ratio every single day. I just think you have to make sure that you're keeping your calories up and you're keeping your protein up to make sure that you're avoiding a lot of the health problems that can come with undereating. Let me know in the comments, how many meals a day are you eating? What works best for you? And I hope you are enjoying a delicious, meaty meal today. Thanks for watching.